Welcome to the rest of our training program. In the previous video, we gave the program of our training. In this first part, we are going to talk about financial education. For us, it will be a matter of seeing how people earn their money and the reasons why. At the end of their career, some people are poor while others are rich. According to Robert T. Kiyosaki, active society is divided into four major groups. On the one hand, we have the employees, then we have the autonomous base. We have the owners of large companies, and finally the investors. The employees are people who sell their time and energy to make money. So if your income is called salary, know that you are employed. They are people who go to school, learn, study and seek employment. Sometimes they don't go to school, but they give their time and energy to others. People to earn money. These are people who have no time for themselves, but they put all their energy into accomplishing goals that are set by their bosses. When they are at work, they earn money. If they are not at work, they cannot earn money. And Robert T. Kiyosaki tells us, employees earn active income. Currently, we want to draw the attention of our loyal listener to the fact that when you are employed, your mind is not developed to create wealth. We say the employee receives the salary. Indeed, when he receives the salary, what does he do with the salary? He takes care of his expenses, he pays the rent, he pays this, he pays that. So in his mind, the money must be spent. He has no idea of developing the little money he has to produce wealth. And that's what we're talking about today. So our program will be to be able to give the employee elements that will allow, with the few resources they have, to be able to develop and have other income resources. So employees are people who, according to Robert T. Kiyosaki, will die in poverty because their salary is never enough for them. Very often, they want to live beyond their means. Very often they want to imitate those who are rich, those who spend their money on their business. And in the end, what happens? They spend all their money and they are stressed. They have nothing left. People coming out of school today, if you look at them very carefully, they think about job security. This is the reason why you will see these young people fighting to have a registration number. Why are they looking for a registration number? Because they will only be sure that every day they have something to eat. But the job he fights for doesn't belong to him. Not. You will hear people say, I received my salary in the summer. He receives the salary. He does not earn the salary, he receives the salary. That means he receives money. And the money goes to its owner. Who is its owner? He's the landlord, he's the neighborhood shopkeeper, he's the transporter, and his life turns out like that. Before the end of the month, he has nothing, and most often he always takes a small loan from the local store. Or he goes to see his banker to take out the overdraft. Discovered after discovered after discovered. And soon, 30 years of service will pass. He will have achieved practically nothing as far as I am concerned. Are you? I said. I am a retired civil servant. I worked for 30 years and retired. But what did I notice? I was making very good money and keeping myself busy. Well, from my family, I sent my children to good schools because I was lucky enough to have a good job that allowed me to cover and be a good parent. But then, what we need to know today is that when you retire, you no longer have enough money, whereas while you were working, your salary was not already enough to cover the purchase of your family. And now what do? We will pay you a third of your salary as a pension. However, your full salary was not already enough, and at the moment there are health problems. Generally, people who go on retreat have problems with illnesses. chronics that came from burning out while active. And very often, that's when kids go to college and you have to. A lot more money. So here, Robert T. Kiyosaki makes us understand that the employment problem is a mentality problem. If you want to become, you have to change the way you think. And that's why we're here to give this shot today, so that if you are employed, you know how to use this salary opportunity that you have or create other sources of income, and we'll show you exactly what to do as part of our training. Self-employed workers are people who create their own business but manage it themselves. Here, we must mention the traders and the hairdressers. And if you buy your taxi and you drive the taxi yourself, you are in the hole, but also people with liberal professions. Like doctors and private clients, like bailiffs. I don't know. Even artists, why not? They are all what we call self-employed. What characterizes them? It's people in this system, it's themselves, so that means they're the ones who know best how to buy the goods. This is exactly how to negotiate the contract, which means that when they are not there, everything collapses. When they work, they earn money. The day they don't work, they don't have money. It means that at the end of their career, everything falls apart. We take for example, someone who opens his shop, a doctor who creates his clinic. He is a good surgeon, he operates on the heart, he operates on the brain, we invite him to other countries. Why? Not the day he gets sick. Or if he only has pain in his hand, he can no longer operate. If we take for example the case of a lawyer, he works while he pleases the court, he is invited to several countries to intervene and he earns many millions. Now, if he gets sick, his wife won't go to court to plead for him. So, the T-quadrant problem, and Robert T. Kiyosaki says that about 5% of the workforce operates in this area. But they all end their lives poor because their system relies on them. It is for this reason that, once again, I would like to draw our attention. If you are in this quadrant, there is still something you can do to ensure the days or times when you can no longer be active. When we return to Robert T. Kiyosaki's book, he says that 90% of populations are employees, but 5% of the working population is self-employed. And now we see that these people who are self-employed, they are like employed because of the school system. Because, according to what Robert T. Kiyosaki tells us, is that the school was built by the rich so that those who go to this school have the resources to come and work in companies created by the rich. However, we have seen that being employed, if you continue your life and finish your career as an employee, you will die poor. So today, I want to take for example, a young person who goes to school, he is at university, he is an engineer. We noticed that from a young age, in his subconscious, he knew that he was going to grow and work. And it is for this reason that today, young people who leave school, they look for a registration number for job security. However, the engineer, being a specialist in his field, could create a company in his sector of activity, grows with his business, and within 5 or 10 years, he enters the framework of businessman. So really, we need to work on changing our mentality. And it is for this reason, once again, that we are here to share with you. As far as I am concerned, when I was still in office a few years from my retirement, I was already thinking about Plan B, and what did I do? I started a business, but this business was also relative to my role. And the business did well at first. People came to my company because they are disappointed that their satisfaction will be complete. Okay, so what happened when I lost my job? When I retired, I no longer had the benefits at the cost of my services to help them, and my business went away. And today I share with you For what? Because if I had thought further, the strategy would have been very different. I would not have focused the business on myself, and that is why today I am here to try to draw your attention to this situation. You who are employed, you who are self-employed, think about tomorrow. The project we have for you at the end of this program is so enticing. According to Robert T. Kiyosaki, the owners of large businesses are those who have built a system and the system works for them. They are free with their time. And employees and self-employed workers work for them. But the problem here is that it costs a lot of money to build a system. Businesses. Category P to speak of owners of large businesses. These are businesses that have capital of at least $5 million. You see with me that it is not within reach of everyone, and it is for this reason that Robert T. Kiyosaki informs us that there are only 3% of the active population who access this category. So, if we don't need only capital, and according to the magazine, it is said that one of the criteria for determining the owners of large companies, is that they will be able to achieve a turnover of at least $2 million per year. So if you're employed and you work for someone else, when are you going to work the money until you have $5 billion? To open a large business, you see with me that to start a business the conventional way, this is not for everyone. But luckily we have this program. I insist that we must follow our video until the end because we have an escape route. One of the conditions. Being qualified as a large company means that you must have a system that is duplicable. That means that can be built in several localities, in several cities, in several countries, even in several continents. A company like Dangote Company, you see that it is everywhere in Africa. That's what it is, built in quadrant B. And finally there, one of the characteristics is that these people must not be present. It's because the system works for them. That's why they have free time. They can spend time playing golf, walking on beaches because their system is working to them, even if they die. Their company will continue to work because the system is there to control. When we talk about system, there is the company management system and there is the system of control of this company itself. According to Robert T. Kiyosaki, there are 3 categories of companies that are cited here. There are conventional companies. The case I just cited, we have the case of franchises. What is a franchise? Franchising is a system of large companies which gives transfer to other companies to use their system and run their business. I take for example the case of the total station. You can decide to open a total station, you will see the total audience. He will therefore give you approval to open the total company. Or in the banking sector. If you want to invest in the banking sector, you go for example to UBA Bank. You see the owner of UBA Bank to obtain a franchise, so you open your bank in the name of UBA. You see that if you go to any neighborhood, you open your bank. This name is new. It takes time for people to know about your business. But if you meet UBA, you make a contract with him, a franchise contract with him, you will open the same day your bank and put UBA, and everyone passing by will know that it is UBA. But the problem with franchising is that there is a franchisor and a franchisee. The franchisee, it is the main company which gives authorization to franchisees to operate. So he provides the system to the franchisees and the franchisee sends all his staff to the franchisor to be. Because in the franchise system, the service must be the same, But the problem that arises here is that it is the franchisor who is in quadrant B because that its system is multiplied in several countries in several localities. But the franchisee is generally in the T quadrant because he is generally the one who runs his business. But there too, he takes a lot of money because Forbes magazine tells us that to buy a franchise, you have to pay at least $1 million to be able to have the right to open a franchise. And now we would have to pay rent every month. You see that this sector is also good in the last case as network marketing. Networks is the business of the 21st century. We will come back to this. So these are the characteristics of the P quadrant. What they are looking for is their freedom. But then you have to have a big capital, and currently most people do not have enough money to be able to move up into this quadrant. That's why he stays in the T quadrant. You agree with? For me, from what we have seen, it is that to access this category of business owners, it is not given to everyone. Besides, one of the conditions is that you have to employ at least 500 people in order to be able to set up a big business where you can sleep at home, do what you want, and only come back to harvest the fruits. The last group of people who earn passive income are investors. Investors are successful people in Quadrant B. That is to say, within the framework of the owners of large companies who now collect the profits that they have in their different structures and put this money so that the money produces even more money. So investors are people who have been able to invest their money to produce even more money. I want to take for example someone who has a lot of money and who goes to see the state. He deposits money with the state to recover dividends, or someone who has a lot of money. He builds buildings and rents them out to collect the rent. You see that he is no longer there all the time. He spent a lot of money once, and this building will produce money from generation to generation, but it has nothing more to do, in fact not much to do. Generally he confirms the management of the building to another company and he only reaps the profits. This is the mentality of investors. But most often what do? They don't even use this money, they rather use the money of people from Quadrant T and the agent from Quadrant T. Let's remember that employees and self-employed workers, what characterizes them? It's their security, so they're the ones who always open savings accounts and keep money, because they always tell themselves that if something happens tomorrow, what am I going to do? The rich don't save. Not. The rich invest their money, the rich always find ways for their money to produce money, and that is why, in Quadrant I generally, when he goes to the bank to see the banker, he calls the banker and says, "How many billions do you have there?" This billion is not his money, it is the savings of people in Quadrant T and those in Quadrant T that they will collect now and put up a building. And ultimately it is the income from these buildings which will repay the debt to the bank. That's what it's about. We saw everything. At present, owners of large businesses represent about 3% of the working population. As for investors, they will represent approximately 2% of the working population, and now Robert Kiyosaki in his bed tells us that employees and the self-employed are in the poor quadrant while the large business owners and investors are in the wealthy quadrant. But very often when we tell people that they are in the poor quadrant, they think we are insulting them. No, the poor here, it's not an insult. Robert Kiyosaki simply wants us to understand that no matter how much money you have, wealth according to Robert Kiyosaki is not evaluated in terms of currency. It's not how many millions or how many billions you have in your account, it's more like how long can you continue to live with the same lifestyle without to work? This is how Robert Kiyosaki defines wealth, and on this level, he concludes by saying that employees and self-employed workers, who represent 95% of the working population, are said to be 5% of the overall income, while the properties of large companies and the invested, which yet represent only 5% of the global population, consume 95% of global income. This leads us to think and how. I always said it from the start, in relation to what you do and how you earn your money. And that is also the purpose of our course, because we are in the process of give the ideas and inject into the thoughts so that you who listen to me understand that there is a way out. As far as I'm concerned, at the time I was looking the way out. After I retired and my business ran out, I met someone who talked to me, which I have to share with you in the framework of the training. And this person told me about this 21st century business, and finally, I joined a training school where I received all the training that allowed me to build my business in several countries, while I was employed, during the 30 years that I served in my country. I had never had the opportunity to take a flight. In fact, the highest peak I had reached was tree climbing. But today, I take flights to going from country to not only control my businesses, but to give this training to people, to help people develop their business. Today, I'm in front of you, and the goal of this course is for you to listen to me if you really want an activity to support what you usually do. I am here to help you develop your own business so that you can receive passive income like I have now, because nowadays I get money that falls into my accounts every week, and even when I look back during the COVID period when many companies closed and that people lost their jobs, I continue to receive money in my account every week. So in the next video, we're going to show you all the techniques, and I will give you all the training you need to build a business with less cost, and which will give you wealth that will come in your account every week. Thank you very much, and see us again in the next video.